and hopefully you can gain something out of this. So today we're going to be talking about how to level up your resume. We'll be discussing ways on how to, get your resume through that initial recruiter screening process, hopefully onto an interviewer's desk. So yeah, if we go to the next slide, here's our agenda for today. First, we're going to talk about tips on how to make your resume stand out, followed by some general resume advice, and then advice for technical resumes. And then we'll be doing our resume roast, featuring some guest, interns. And then at the end, as always, we'll have some time for questions. But first, pop quiz. Don't worry, this isn't going to be graded or anything, but it really highlights the importance of a good resume. So yeah, on average, how long do you guys think a recruiter spends on your resume? Feel free to type your answer in the chat. Yeah, I see some answers coming in. So people are split between, looks like C and D. We'll see our answer on the next slide. Yeah, the answer is actually D. I know this might be a bit of a surprise, but it takes an average recruiter about 6 to 10 seconds to look over your resume to see all your relevant experience in projects before giving your resume that initial pass or no pass, which brings me to my next point, which is how to make your resume stand out. Before even going into the substance of your resume, we want to give the recruiter an interesting layout, I guess. This means making your resumes visually appealing. Some of the things you can do to do that include having a bit of color on your resume, though obviously you don't want it to be excessive. There needs to be a balance with everything. Having a bit of alignment, which means that there isn't any like awkward lines or details that are out of place. You want to avoid clutter, having all of your information in one like small square area. You can also refer to templates, online templates that really help with avoiding clutter and making a pretty resume. There's no shame in using a template. In the bullet points after the third point, we have some templates for resumes. And the last point to consider is looking into making your resumes in Microsoft Word. A lot of people use Google Docs to write their resumes because it automatically saves and you can access it on really any computer just with your email. But the reason I say this is because while Google Docs is really amazing for collaboration and some basic layouts, this also means that a lot of the styles are really set in stone and a lot of the design capabilities are, limited. And don't get me wrong, writing your resumes on Google Docs is completely fine. I'm not hating on Google Docs or anything, but if you feel like your current resume layout or template is unappealing, definitely give Microsoft Word a try. And don't quote me on this, but I think with Microsoft Word, you can get away with expanding the margins a bit better because with Google Docs, at least, if you try to expand the margins and download it to a PDF, then it will sometimes go over to a second page. So yeah, there's an example of a resume on the right. It's pretty organized. It's got a bit of color, but it's not too wild. And even from afar, you can kind of see where they're trying to go with this. Everything's like labeled properly. I guess just a side note, I'm not sure you always want to include a picture of yourself on your resume. A lot of times a recruiter might, judge you negatively because of your appearance, although obviously not on purpose, but, subconsciously. And a headshot, I guess, takes away room from other information that you could potentially have on your resume. So yeah, I guess unless you're like, drop dead gorgeous, maybe think twice about including a photo on your resume.
But isn't irregular resumes bad if they run through application tracking system?
Yeah, exactly. So there's that online tracker thing. So again, with the idea of adding color or like making your resume too like fancy. A lot of times companies will run your resume through a scanner that, you know, looks for certain keywords on your resume. And if you do make it too fancy, then a lot of these scanners will like break, or like a lot of these things that you want the scanner to see won't be scanned. So again, it's all about, you know, making a balance, or having a balance with the amount of information you have and the, I guess, layout of your resume. And yeah, Annika will take the next slide.
Yeah, okay, so it's just some general technical resume advice. First thing, tailor your resume to the job you're applying for, whether that's changing your objective statement to fit the job you're applying to, or including any specific technical skills or soft skills that may be relevant to the job. It's definitely necessary to keep it up to date and not just blindly submit to a job, even if, especially if you know they're looking for certain things. In addition with that, add impact words to your resume. So like Eddie touched on, the applicant tracker system is something that filters applications automatically based on given criteria such as keywords, skills, schools, or different years of experience. So for computer science, a good example of this is putting down any languages that you have experience with. So Java or Python, and then also other common workplace things might be helpful, such as Git, or if you've worked in an agile environment, you might want to consider including that. But make sure you're not just kind of word spitting onto the page. Only list things that you are proficient or very familiar with, because the interviewer, anything on your resume is fair game for interviews, so you don't want to be questioned about something on your resume and then not have a good answer for it. And of course, don't lie. And then also include projects, certifications, and soft skills. So list and explain any personal or work projects that you took on. This helps shows your technical skills. And then regarding soft skills, you don't explicitly need to write down any soft skills, but include extracurricular activities, volunteer work, or other examples of that demonstrate your soft skills. Some examples of soft skills are teamwork, creativity, adaptability, organization, and willingness to learn. So the soft skills are kind of personal habits and traits that shape how you work on your own and with others. So they're definitely necessary to kind of present in your resume, even if it isn't explicitly. And then finally, quantify your accomplishments. As you can see from the examples, the first one is very general. They just studied financial performance of companies and made investment recommendations. Anybody could really do that. It doesn't include much knowledge of the topic or any details about what you did. The second example is a lot better. It's easy to see that improving performance by $1.2 million is very noteworthy, and it really draws people's attention. It explains how you did it, and it invites the interviewer to ask more questions and just become more engaged and interested in you and your resume. You can go to the next slide. So yeah, these are a couple examples. So a college student participating in a leadership program, they have specific numerical values that really draws your attention. And even when you're in your sorority or fraternity, you can show leadership opportunities within that. And then again, quantifying things really helps people understand to what extent you did things, and that you really understand what you were doing. You can go to the next slide. Yeah. Okay, so a couple takeaways from this. So your resume should be telling the story of you and help hiring managers understand why you are the right person for the job. So again, that I want to emphasize, really tailoring your resume to the job, because that helps hiring managers, again, understand why you should be chosen out of the many people who have applied. In addition, it tells the story of your background, the skills you gained along the way, the experiences that you've had, and makes it clear why you've ended up where you are today. and then again, why the role that they are hiring for is the perfect next step for you and perfect opportunity for you to grow from. In interviews, you can expand on each part of your story, so that your resume should give more of an overview, and then you can go more in depth and give more details during interviews. And then second, what makes you different? So don't hesitate to show who you really are, your likes, interests, personality, what makes you unique. Again, real people are hiring you, and they want to work with someone who has a personality and is a good culture fit. So if you're just like the average student with nothing that pops out on your resume, they might not want to hire you because they're looking for somebody who can fit into their culture and make a difference. So really set yourself apart in a good way, and that will help you get hired and noticed.
Yeah, and then so just following that, make sure you watch your tenses. A lot of times you'll have experiences that you're currently, I guess, you're currently, current jobs that you might have, and you might, think about or switching between present tense and past tense. A good rule of thumb is to stick with one tense actually. So like even for things that you're currently doing, you've obviously done it in the past before. So like if you're a teaching assistant, for example, you might want to say instead of works with, you might want to say worked with the professor, just so there's a bit of parallelism with your previous experiences. And then, yeah, obviously getting feedback from others, it's never enough to just get one pair of eyes over your resume. You always want to like come to these events, for example, get your resumes looked over. And yeah, the last point is sending in your resume correctly. So most companies require even your resume to be submitted as a PDF. But with that said, you want to first preview the resume that's in PDF form, because like I said earlier, it's possible that your PDF is like a page over because it was downloaded incorrectly. And even when you do download your PDF, make sure that it's labeled correctly. As recruiters can see what you call your resume. Call it something simple like, resume.pdf, or like your name, resume.pdf. Yeah, just some pretty basic information, I guess. Yeah, so here we have two sample resumes that kind of like incorporate the information that we talked about earlier. So the one on the left has a bit more details and colors. Obviously both are really good, but the one on the left has colors. It really like stresses what the main talking points are. So education, experience, projects, skills, and interest involvements. And it tries to quantify, the experience. So reduced expensive traffic. It includes, numbers. Same with the one on the right, it's aligned like to the right, I guess. So like all the dates are aligned correctly. And yeah, again, with the action words, the impact words, engineered high throughput, actualized total cost savings, stuff like that, it's what really makes a resume kind of stand out to a recruiter. And if we go to the next slide, yeah, so so now we're gonna get to the roasting section of this workshop. Unfortunately, Kush isn't with us today, but Annika has graciously volunteered to be a roaster in his place. She has a lot of experience. She was a software engineering intern at Microsoft this past summer. And yeah, George is also with us. George, I don't know if you want to unmute yourself to introduce yourself.
My bad, I was eating.
You're good.
But what's good, y'all? I'm gonna be a roaster today. I'm gonna take it easy on you, but I'm gonna be real with it. So looking forward to it.
Cool. Yeah, so Eric, if you could switch to the PDFs. Alrighty. So yeah, honestly, just if you guys see anything you want to talk about, just like go for it, really. There's no like...
High level overview. I feel like at certain points it looks kind of paragraphy. Even though it's bullet points, it's hard for me to tell it's bullet points. It's hard to like parse through it. This is high level. I didn't read through it yet.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like there's a lot of really good experience here actually, but like George said, a lot of it is, kind of cluttered within each other. Try to obviously like simplify what you're trying to say as best you can.
And also, I definitely realize this is a freshman, so they need high school things. But as you get more experience, definitely think about eliminating those high school things, replacing them with college things, and because that's the most relevant stuff that people look at.
But definitely, like you was doing way more than I was in high school. My resume was like McDonald's and football team. So you on a good pace. I know
Yeah, no.
you're gonna have a lot of college things to replace it with.
Yeah, for sure. I love your clubs and activities, hackathons, Girls Who Code, Math Club. This all shows like a really nice incentive. Recruiters love that stuff.
Okay, so now I'm on the first bullet point of math. I like how you said 3 hours a week, twice a week. Following that, I don't know how to mathnasium curriculum, instilling love and appreciation for math. I think that's a really good one. Nothing bad here. Like you did a good job of like saying what you did, how long you did it for. So yeah, I think that's a solid one. What do you guys think?
Yeah, for sure. This is a really good resume, especially since it's only for a freshman. Again, try to like quantify your experiences, as George and Annika kind of said. Yeah, I think this is a really great resume to start off with. Yeah, if there's nothing else, we can go on to the next one.
I'm low-key still reading through it, but
Oh, sorry.
nah, I be reading. I just like read it over and over again. I'm slow, but if you guys see nothing, I'll just go to the next one.
Okay. Sure, then next up. Yeah, I guess just some first impressions. Again, this is another really awesome resume. Amazing GPA, obviously. You have really great like organization, going from your objective to your education skills, your experience, and then any projects and leadership you have. One of the things I would recommend is, I know you might not, or not everyone has one, but it says under skills, you have, GitHub as a framework. I definitely recommend adding your GitHub at the top of your resume. Right now you have phone, email, and LinkedIn. A lot of, at least for computer science, a lot of, employers like to see that you have a GitHub, and, if they're interested in learning a bit more about your projects or experience, they'll kind of like look at your GitHub. So yeah, I would definitely recommend including that.
And to add, this is a really great resume. For the first one, I just read through your first one, which is software engineer intern apartment list. I think you did a good job of saying your tools, technologies, and your individual contribution. However, I think there's a way you can still try to squeeze in your impact. So like, because you did this, so it says communicate information to stakeholders to ensure uniform understanding. That was good. Component production application service guideline. Actually, employ sibling features. Responsible for development of providing functionality, manage data, turn the runners and properly. Actually, I take that back. But maybe, I'm trying to think of a way to reword it, because you have your like what happened as a result of what you did, but also I feel like it's somewhat hiding after the first sentence. Or functionally, hold on a second, I'm thinking.
One thing that I really liked about Socket Alert under projects, that's definitely a great example of how you can show your soft skills. So it says collaborated with a mechanical engineer, biomedical engineer, and data scientist. Just showing that you're good in a team and can collaborate across fields is definitely a skill that people look for. So I really like that.
Something, and this is a really, nitpicky kind of thing. A lot of times, it's good to list your tools and technologies at the very beginning, I guess. So maybe for apartment list, you have Material UI, Gatsby, Git, React, all these amazing technologies. Some people like to have that stuff right under software engineering intern remote. So on the same I guess margin indent, and then go into the details of how you use these technologies. Other times they like to, or other times you can also incorporate these tools and technologies inside of the statements themselves. So maybe something like responsible for front-end web development on admin console, by providing functionality using Material UI or React, stuff like that. So kind of weave in these technologies and frameworks into the experience themselves.
Yeah, I agree. And then also making sure everything you have here is also listed at the top, because when recruiters or whoever's reading your resume, they look at certain sections first to see what skills you have, where did you go to school, etc. Then they look at your professional experience. And for example, Gatsby isn't up in the skills or for programming frameworks or anything like that. So make sure you probably might have just learned it when you're editing your resume, but make sure you're editing your full resume, add it at the top as well. Because even though, I already put it there, but the way they look at it is one section at a time.
And then also, this is very nitpicky, but for apartment lists, the dates are June 2020 to July 2020. Make sure you have July 2020 in all caps just to make it the same throughout.
Yeah, that's a good catch.
Yeah, I haven't noticed that. But other than that, very solid resume.
Yeah, I think I'm good on this one. I don't know if you guys want to spend some more time.
I'm looking at the research assistant created fluent simulation model, 2D geometry analysis, trained paper models techniques, tools also use it to find functions, constructed MATLAB NASA's images to extract data and integrate fluid simulation. I don't know if it's common knowledge in this world, because I'm not too familiar with all of these terminologies. But if possible, maybe a bullet point to see as a result of this, what happens to the simulation. February spelled wrong. I would have never caught that, because
Good catch, Nick.
definitely a good catch. But yeah, but other than that, I think it's pretty solid. Just some minor nitpicks that we said. And then if possible, I don't know if you guys are allowed to talk about it, as a result of what you did in your research, what happened, if that's possible. Cool. High level, before I start reading into it. I like how everything's like like separated, and like I know like where to find the skills, where to find education. I see how you have some things in bold. Um, Very easy to parse resumes, so that's good for a recruiter's eyes. And you have your links at the top.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to note is I noticed that you didn't include your GPA. I know this is something that like people like are split with all the time. Or at least Annika and I were talking about it earlier, but I think we were talking about like, you know, a good like cutoff for your GPA, you know, to include or not to include on your resume. And it really depends, but we were kind of coming to a consensus that having a 3.0 or above is fine to have on your resume. I know it might not seem like, you know, you want to include something like that, but I guess the thing is, if you don't include your GPA on your resume, a recruiter is going to most likely assume the worst. You know, like they might think you have like a 2 or a 1, honestly. And if you have like a what, like a 3.3, that's like a perfectly fine GPA. So yeah, just something to consider, I guess.
All right, so now moving to the first one, the Just Synthesizer. First, I noticed there's no dates here. I don't know if it's like law to put dates, but might be a good idea just to give like better idea of like, you know, when this took place. Um, so yeah, I don't know what you guys' opinion on dates are, but I think that might be good just to like thought them out. I don't know. But going into the actual like first one, so I see you built the synthesizer that does this, and I was like, okay, cool, cool. Um, and just but try to maybe even though it's not like so a lot of times with people's personal projects, they're like, how do I put impact if it's not like, you know, there's no numbers I can deal with or anything like that. Try to see what it can be used for. So it can be used for X, Y, or Z could be really cool because me looking at this resume, I'm not too familiar with it. You have to remember like recruiters who are reading your resumes, everybody in computer science, there's so many different like I guess like professions or like specialties. There's no way that they always know like where you're going with something. So me looking at this first time, I'm like, I'm not sure what this can be used for. So that might be a good thing to add. And like the impact side of things, like this can be used to do X, Y, and Z. This is why this is important.
Also, for me, I'm really drawn to all the blue items, all the GitHub links. I'm not sure if that's necessarily what you want to be highlighting. I would maybe keep that as a bullet point under each thing or something like that instead, because it kind of takes away from the whole everything else on the resume. So if they want to learn more, they can go there. So I would definitely keep that as an option, but focus on kind of the stuff on your resume as is.
Yeah, I agree. And also like the format is kind of variable. So always try to make it a good format. So like she said, just put in like a bullet point. Um
Yeah, we'll be sharing the slides that we went over earlier. So there are some really nice templates on, I think like slide 7 or 6. So yeah, consider checking out one of those templates and maybe like Georgia and Annika said, you know, have your GitHub link as the first bullet point under a project, just so it's like aligned with everything and it, you know, looks more organized.
yeah. So I just read through all the rest of your projects and really cool projects. I think this is really good. Like you have a lot of good things. I think it's just more of like same thing. I have the same high level thing I said for the first one I have for the rest of them. Try to tell, like, communicate to me like what it can be used for. I know certain ones you did a good job of like what it can be used for. Like I think the CNN one was a good one. But like in general, like okay, so you made this. What can it be used for? I know what you did. I know what you made it with. I think that's the last piece you need. What can it be used for? If you can't put out the impact, that's a good bullet point. Um, what about, do you guys have any thoughts? Anything else?
Just one last, like, I guess, formatting thing. So I know that you like start out everything at the top there, but I guess consider keeping it, kind of symmetrical. So right now you have your phone number and then your email in the middle, and then you have 2 links at the top. Um, Maybe consider, having 2 and 2, I guess, on each side, or like having 4 on the same level. Um, Obviously, like, I don't know what it looks like normally, but I just feel like to keep it symmetrical, you might want to, like, have everything like on the same level, or like 2 and 2. And again, it's something really nitpicky, but yeah. Other than that, I think we kind of covered a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff.
Very cool. Let's move on to the next one then.
Okay, high level overview looking at it. I think your education should be at the top, but I also like how this is easy to read and parse. So yeah.
It does seem a little kind of sparse on the first look, so if there's any additional information you can put under experience and kind of build that up, or more information about your projects, I would recommend that.
Oh yeah, I just got to experience. Definitely, and just picking back up what she just said, you only have one bullet point for each one. And I think you can add a little bit more details of what technologies you used. You're like, what did you do in order to like do this? Or some of these aren't like technology type of things, like helping senior citizens to learn use computers, but like, what was your time commitment? What type of computers? Like, what did you help them with? Be more descriptive in like what you're doing, and yeah, highlight your impact better, or what things could be used for. I see a lot of high school, so I'm guessing this is a freshman level resume. Um, but C++, Java, Python. Damn, that's a lot to know as a freshman. That's impressive. But yeah, I think that's my main thing for the resume, is just like doing a better job of highlighting your impact, and not only your impact, describing what you're doing in more detail so I fully understand the extent of your work. And I would move education to the top. And maybe like make it easier to see, like to separate the school versus the year of graduating, because it's all together in one like paragraph, which isn't bad, but like recruiters, when they look at it, they kind of want to see boom, boom, ba, boom, boom, ba. So we want to make it easy to read as possible.
Yeah, just to echo everything that they said. Again, with like the layout, you maybe consider using a template online. A lot of them like have specific things that like let you fill out, different sections. Another thing, I guess, with your dates, I would consider like including the months, or like maybe just the like amount of time you spent. Like, so like, for example, the teaching assistant for Solon High. Right now it says, right now you have like basically 2 years of experience teaching, but probably it was September 2018 to like August 2019, right? So like 1 year. Maybe consider writing in parentheses next to it, like 1 year, 1 month, instead of just, the years themselves, because obviously that's a super wide range or margin.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
First.
Okay. For skills and qualifications, kind of like what George was saying, they just want to see exactly what you did or what you know. So I would list out Python, Java, C++, so I don't have to parse through the skills and qualifications to understand which ones you know. And then, so I'm guessing the Android apps is linked to Java because it says designed and developed Android games. So potentially you could put down in Android apps, like, use Java to do so-and-so instead of having that under skills and qualifications. And then also for self-motivated quick learner with excellent communication skills, that's an example of a soft skill. So I would try to demonstrate that through examples instead of explicitly saying that. So any example of you doing that in these jobs, you could put that as a bullet point instead of explicitly saying that.
Yeah, I agree. You literally just took the words out of my mouth. And then I would say, like, I see in your skills and qualifications, you said you wrote programs, but I don't see the programs you wrote in your experience. So that's definitely something to like separate. So like as you just said, put your skills and qualifications, boom, boom, ba, ba. Don't add all the extra stuff, just your skills. And then the extra things you added, like your programs you wrote, detail that in your experience. And you'll be able to like fill your resume up more.
Yeah, for sure. I think for this resume, it's really just about expanding on your experience, your projects, each bullet point you have. A good rule of thumb that a recruiter told me is for each bullet point, you want to have at least 2 lines of information. Obviously, like if it's with a big chunk of experience, it's fine having 1 line for a bullet point. But I guess in your case, each one of your experiences has a bullet point with one line. So consider, yeah, including metrics to quantify your impact. And yeah, even just like including the technologies that you use. So like for your first one, automating strategies for robot painting using, XYZ technology. And again, the result or the impact of what that was. So maybe like, for like a local school or like, for teaching assistant taught a class of, 50 kids holding like recitations every week or so, stuff like that.
And then also just to make it more uniform throughout, I think using a template would help, but under skills and qualifications, you have the little arrows, then under experience, you have the dot bullet points, then under projects, you have the dash bullet points. So it's just very not uniform. So again, like I said, I think a template would help, but making sure you're doing that. And then even just like exaggerating a little bit for like under office assistant, like organizing papers, moving supplies, and cleaning. Like, can you somehow change that so it's not as like dull as it sounds, kind of? So just kind of like just make it a little bit more exciting, even if it maybe wasn't the most exciting job. Kind of find the right words so that it is.
Yeah, something like improve like a flow of like, like workers by like 50% by organizing, everything into stacks, stuff like that.
Definitely, because all of this is marketing, right? You're trying to market yourself as the best candidate for this job. So like when you see ads, right, you know how like the cheeseburger looks like 10 times better than it really is, and it's just sizzling off the bun. That's how your resume is supposed to be like really amplify everything you've done so it looks like the best that it is. Use all the keywords you can, really highlight the impact that you've done, and market yourself as the best candidate for the position. That's all.
Yeah,
You
I was gonna say that too. I think we're good for this one. Eric, I don't know if you have the next one ready. Yeah, of course, Nick. Eric. There we go.
Interesting. I can't see the whole thing. Can you scroll down a little bit? Oh, there we go. Oh, that is the whole thing. um, this is an interesting setup. I'm just giving my high level of like how well I can find the things. I like how everything's easy to find. I don't know about the content yet, but the programming languages is well thought out, and then you also have like your level of comfortability. I don't know if that's a word, but that's what I'm gonna use with it. So that's really cool. You have your other skills as well, your awards. You like put your school in bold. So yeah, good job for that part. And it's a really like easy to parse resume. I like the color. I like the two. I'm a fan of 2-pan layout resumes, so I really like this one. And you have your links at the top.
One thing I would say for the programming languages and software is like, I don't really know what scale this is on. So is a 1 dot like you're not very comfortable, or like you have a good amount of experience? So just kind of maybe clarifying that. I'm not necessarily sure how you would do that, but I don't think the dots really tell me too much about your level of experience in it.
Yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, maybe specify by like years or months. I'm not sure, but like maybe some type of time specification or lines of code written. That might be a good scale to put it on. So how many lines of code have you written in Java versus R versus MATLAB, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, so the person who submitted this resume said that they're new to the tech field, so they switched from pre-med to computer science last semester, and just wanted to make sure that they adjusted their resume well enough to exemplify their skills and experiences in computer science. With that said, it seems like, it seems like you have a good amount of projects that are like CS related. And again, I also want to emphasize that if you're like an underclassman or if you don't have that much experience, projects are the way to go. A lot of times companies will hire solely based on like companies will pass your resume through solely based on interesting projects on your resume. So yeah, I would definitely, with your project section, I would try to kind of include which technologies you use. And again, try to like kind of quantify the impact, which I know might be hard for a project, but just like try your best, I guess.
Yeah. So for the first one, I just looked at the first one. First, like how you had the link. I'm a big fan of links when you talk about projects because one thing to talk about is one thing to show me. So good thing you added a link to your prototype. But I would say like using Figma, connecting uninsured populations to our affordable healthcare services, connect to user research, present a prototype. I don't know. I feel like I don't fully understand the full, and maybe it's just me. I'm gonna reread it one more time, then I collect my thoughts and say what I'm trying to say.
One thing to mention about the links, so and a company's not going to get your resume online necessarily, or like if you're at a career fair, you're handing them out, or they can't, if you're sending it in as a PDF, they can't click on these links. So I would actually put the like HTTP link URL to it instead, because I don't think this will show them exactly where. I'm not sure. I think they are links, right? Not just like underline
Um,
parts.
I
I assume
I
so.
half agree, half disagree with what you just said. And mainly because like, I mean, for career fairs definitely, but for PDFs, links are in PDFs now.
Okay.
And yeah, recruiters like linked up things like they can click on PDF links.
Gotcha. Okay. I didn't know that. I
Yeah.
like that.
All right, could you try hovering over? Or sorry, just, I don't know if that works. Is that supposed to, or I guess
Depends how
somehow.
yeah, if you're on a MacBook and you're using Word, unless you save it as like a live document or whatever it's called, your links are gonna be dead. So that's just like, I was so confused because I used to have a Windows, and I switched over to Mac like in like December, and my resume link stopped working, and I was like, what's going on? Like now I have to like change it to the long version. But yeah, I had to save it as a different type of file. So those are hyperlinks. Not sure why resume links aren't working. Make sure you save it as the right type of file, I guess. There's some type of tutorial on there to make sure your hyperlinks work. So yeah, make sure they work before you send them out on a PDF, because there are versions of PDF where the hyperlink does not click. So be wary.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I feel like overall, though, this is a really good resume. It's organized really well. It seems like you used the template, which is, again, totally fine. Yeah, so try to get the hyperlinks or like try to, download it with the correct file.
Oh, okay. Now I understand. Now I remember what I wanted to say for the first one. Kind of like if you created the user flows, you might want to add that inside there, or like the user story, or like user requirements, like this user should get X, or all of that. If you added that, try to add that, like create the user flows for the thing, create requirements, because that usually goes into like developing the prototype. And then like maybe describe exactly what the prototype is, because I know it's a mobile app, but like I don't know, maybe like created like the home screens, even though you probably went through all of them, but just kind of like, if you can, like go into use a little bit more keywords in describing how you designed the thing, which would be pretty cool. Like, oh, you made the user requirements, the user flows, and he did the prototype. So
One other thing I would say for summary, I would just skip the first line and jump into the second and third, because that's exactly what you are looking for. And you have the 3-time USA track and field cross country, which is very impressive, by the way, in your awards. So I would just kind of keep that there. And if you wanted to highlight that, maybe kind of put it in another color, some down there or something that is separate from your summary, because I think for the summary, they just want to see that you're interested in the application of computing and data systems, etc. But again, very impressive.
Another thing I just wanted to kind of include, I know this is, I guess, your first semester here at Case, but maybe consider listing some like coursework or relevant coursework in computer science, like your Java class or your intro data structures class, because a lot of times the recruiters want to see, if you're challenging yourself with the coursework and if you've taken or if you have the right experience in terms of like classes to like, take or like, get the job. Yeah, and we also, so Kush just joined the call. He was the fourth roaster. Yeah,
sorry to miss this, but pretty much like most of it. I got totally mixed with family, and like literally I had my notification like pulled up on my phone, and I checked it like after like 40 minutes. I was like, oh my god, I totally missed this
No,
meeting.
you're fine. You're fine. Don't worry, man. But yeah, we're just like doing some roasting, I guess, or like throwing some feedback if you want to.
Roasting.
Yeah.
Well, we don't want to crush them. I'm kidding. Yeah, so I mean, so far, so I'm just looking at this resume. This is really good. I guess in like looking at the style perspective, I think it looks really good. Usually I actually usually stay away from putting summaries in my resume, just because I feel like that kind of just takes it away from my experience, and I feel like I don't see that a lot. I think having summary in a resume is more common. I guess like someone that's like looking outside tech, because a lot of recruiters in tech usually look for, what projects you have, what experience you have, and what, language and skills, and like all the stuff I think in there, everything else looks good. But to me, I feel like maybe just like not having the resume, I think we could have, this person could have just done like, let's say, honors and awards as a section. And I see that they did do an award section, but they could have like blended that together, and just including that in the summary section instead of having one summary section.
Yeah, I agree. Not necessarily the summary section part is controversial. I wouldn't call it controversial, but some people like summary, some people don't. I personally am not a summary person, but if I see a summary that's like on a resume, I'm not gonna be like, but because the nature of your summary is more of awards, I think Kush has a really good point of just merging the two together and I think I make sure I'm pronouncing your name right. And Anika,
Annika.
Annika, my bad.
No, you're
Annika said earlier that you mentioned that you're a Junior Olympics national qualifier in your awards already. So I feel like if you're going to do a summary, make it more of a summary about who you are as a professional and what you're aiming to go towards. Otherwise, just like mix it with your awards and honors and leave more experience, like space for your not education, for projects and experience.
I gotta say, I mean, I'm just looking at the awards section and everything. I mean, this is impressive. National Junior Olympic Championships. I mean, that's crazy. So that's really
And
impressive.
And just to add on to that, a lot of times when people like make their own like tech resumes, they're like, oh, everything has to be like tech. But having those things there as well really humanizes you and is really good to like put it there because it makes you memorable. So I'll give you a solid example. So one of my mentors, he's a program manager at YouTube. He said on his resume, he put the fact, it wasn't for his at YouTube job, but I think he used to work at PwC beforehand, but he put the fact that like he was a chicken mascot on his resume and he used to be like a chicken mascot at like basketball games or whatever. But they remembered him because first, like chicken mascot is probably the only guy with the chicken mascot. He was already qualified, and two, it showed that he wouldn't be afraid to like go out there and talk to people and like be sociable. You know, he was like courageous and being able to do all things like that. So I say that to say, don't be afraid to like put non-tech related things on your resume. Don't fill it up all the way, but maybe like squeeze in one or two at the end. And two, you never know what subliminal message you're communicating through the experience that you're putting on your resume. So, for example, like Junior Olympics national qualifier, if you're like an athlete, shows me that, oh, like you're probably dedicated, you're probably really dedicated, like training in your craft, things like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like overall we've said a lot about like you know, the organization of this resume, and a lot of it's really good, like we've been talking about. Let's try to move on, I guess, to another one because we're almost out of time, and let's see, we have 4 more.
Okay, high level, because I always like doing the high level, how it looks first. The font is too small. And I too have this problem because I want to fit everything on my resume. But you have to think about people who may not have like good eyesight. You have to make your resume accessible. So definitely like I would say try to increase the font like maybe like 2 points. And unfortunately we may or may not have to like knock something off, but it's for the greater good, you know, it's for the greater good.
Yeah, I gotta say this resume looks pretty similar to what I had before too. And like George said, even I had a similar problem that I was trying to fit in a lot of things that I've done, and I was just having a hard time putting it in. So one of my mentor, he used to be a project manager at Google, and I basically showed him my resume, which basically looked like this. And the first thing he told me is like, "Hey, I don't want to see the kitchen sink." And I always try to remember that as a fact whenever I try to do my resume. I don't want to squeeze every single thing that I've done during my college. I want to make sure that I'm putting quality information in. So, I mean, just looking at it just from the top down, there's a lot going on. And I feel like, just when a recruiter is like looking at the resume, a lot of times they're looking for someone that's qualified, and obviously this shows that you've done a lot of work. But then it also makes it hard to find those specific specific experiences, specific projects, and specific skills that they're looking for. So I think it might be a good idea to like George said, like increase the font, maybe play around with the spacing a bit, see if you can space it out a little bit. Like one thing I did on my resume that I thought looked better, I got rid of a lot of the borders underneath like the text and stuff. So it just looks like there's a little bit more white space between different sections. It just looks a lot more cleaner, and I guess it just looks better when you're trying to read it. Other than that, I mean, when I look at looking at the descriptions, I think this person's done a really good job and putting in the the action verbs as like the first thing, and then bolding out certain things that that need to be bolded out. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, just like what was just said, I think this resume does a really good job of, or I guess like it has, once you really get into kind of the descriptions, this resume has some really good substance. But again, your resume doesn't want to, spend a lot of time or energy to like find those like substances, I guess. So yeah, you're doing a really great job bolding important information. One thing I would recommend is maybe bold your cumulative GPA instead of italicize, because I'm a bit like my eyesight's not that good, and when I first saw it, I thought you had a 3.15 out of 4.0. I guess just with the font, make sure it's like legible from afar. Another thing is under your leadership and affiliations. I see that you have like QB graphic designer. This feels like an experience to me, because increased exposure by building a portfolio and a website with over 1,100 views. Yeah, I would definitely like include a link to that website, and that's I feel like that's a really good experience, or like a project that you had. So consider like, I guess, reorganizing maybe some of these points.
I can see why they would put it under kind of leadership because they were the founder, but I think if you changed the leadership and affiliations to just like maybe affiliations, and then moved the graphic design stuff up, that would also show your leadership in that, and then you'd have your separate affiliations part. So I think that's something you could maybe separate.
And I know it's a good experience too, but I mean, everything we're saying is not be taking a go, but if you ever decide to increase the font, and you don't have enough space, that would be the one that I would actually drop, mainly because you did it in 2017 and it's the oldest thing on your resume. And you have a lot of other like good experiences that speak to your abilities. So yeah.
Yeah, one I think this is kind of a minor detail. I usually like to shorten my links. Like I see the sorting visualizer link is like a bit long. Maybe use a URL shortener. It just saves us space, and also I feel like if an employer is trying to copy paste the link, I think just makes it easier. I don't know. I just kind of do that just in case. I know I use tiny.cc, and it just makes like custom links for free. So you can probably put like tiny.cc/sorting visualizer. I'm pretty sure it might be available.
And yeah, I'm a hyperlinker type of person, but you can't always hyperlink if you want a printed version or whatever. But if you're sending a PDF and like they're gonna like actually like look through it and click on it, send in the hyperlink version. Like maybe like link can be found here. The here is like hyperlink to something like that on a bullet point. Overview, like it's a really good resume. I think you did a good job of highlighting like not only what you did, but like what your projects can be used for. So yeah, do you guys have anything about like the experience parts or anything like that?
I have just some quick last minute things. So I saw under your sorting visualizer, you have like kevinvelasquez.com/sorting visualizer. I'm assuming that means that there's also just a kevinvelasquez.com. So like a personal website. Definitely like include that link somewhere on your resume, maybe at the top. Just so like a recruiter knows, oh, look, if I want to, look into this person a bit more, I can click on this link and it'll go to their, personal website. Two other things with relevant coursework, you might want to get rid of the like I guess, filler kind of stuff. So like, you know, object-oriented Java, programming in C, C++. Maybe just include like Java and like C++, and then you'll have a bit more room for like future classes if you have any. So like if you wanted to keep this one line, but like you have other classes that you want to add, you can definitely add that. And then the last thing under skills, it's good that you have like programming and languages. Consider like adding like a tools and frameworks or like a miscellaneous technologies section. So like maybe like Bootstrap for like, or like React for like JavaScript, HTML, CSS, stuff like that, because that's really, you know, what like, I guess helps with your programs.
Yeah, I would also add, if you have any certifications, make sure to also add that. If you could, I mean, for me, I think this is just kind of my thing, I guess, with like a tech resume. Like the languages that you speak don't really matter that much. I mean, it's fine to have it, but if you do need to get rid of something, I guess that's one of the things that I would look at. Also with programming, I also actually like to do, when I didn't have a lot of languages that I knew about, I would put in Java, JavaScript, fluent, and then Python, C, C++, intermediate. Well, one, obviously it tells the employers of which languages that, you know, you're good at, but also it fills up a little bit more space, so it actually looks fuller.
Yeah, I mean, and then also just like use inside your experience in project, you already kind of say TensorFlow, you say use pandas, you said you use SQLite. So yeah, like they said, just make sure you move all of that into your skills so it's easy to see. Other than that, solid resume. Just try to make it like easier to read, make it the text bigger.
Yeah, I think we're good to go into the next one.
See, just like looking at the top down, there's a lot of white space here. It's pretty much like the opposite of the other resume that we were looking at. Also with the indentation with education, professional experience, and leadership experience, you know, there's like the text in the middle, but then there's also, you know, text that's indented to the left. So that there's a lot of inconsistency there, just looking at that. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, my bad. I kind of tuned out for a second. I don't know if we already talked about the spacing. Did you talk about the spacing already?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I would recommend this person to use, I'm going to just drop the link, flowcv.io. And anyone can use it. You know, if you guys want to make a really quick resume, this is what I used in the past, and it works really well. You can just put your information in, it just makes a really good professional resume for you. Because I know that resumes are pretty hard to make, especially on a Word document. I made later on, when I did my resume later on, I did it on a PDF. I don't know why I did that. I just kind of just used the edit section of the PDF and just like laid everything out. You can also use Figma. Figma is really good for making resumes. But in a Word document, it's really, really hard to make a clean resume. It's possible, but it just takes a lot of work. So I hope this will help someone.
Also, another tool that's cool to use is Resume Companion or Credle. For starting out resumes, it's really good to start with like a tool, mainly because like you probably won't have enough experience to be able to like lay out your things, and you probably may not know how to lay them out. So plus one on what Kush just said.
Also, this is a freshman, so I understand why it's a little bit sparse, but some things that you could include would be relevant coursework under case, just because if you've already taken like Java and or data structures, people are more likely to take a look at you, and interviewers like to see kind of freshmen that are already taking their computer science specific classes. So I would recommend that.
And so now I'm diving into your professional experience part, and pretty much it's kind of like what I've been echoing most of the night. Try to remember it's marketing. So how do you present yourself as the best candidate? What did you do? So you help three founders create marketing campaigns, ironic, and develop their websites as app. Okay, like what did you do? Like how did you help them? You know, like you're supposed to describe which ways, like did you like, what did you create, like any tools, you know, did you create any like wording or like strategy? I want to hear more about how you help them. And then not only that, I don't only want to see your individual contribution, I want to see what was your impact or what like was a result of what you did. And that goes for all your bullet points. So created sales funnels and Facebook ads, which generated 30,000 USD in profits. That's cool, but like I also want to know, maybe give me a little bit more chase, you know, what were these ads for? Why were it so important that you generated this money? So you did a good job of adding the figures, but then you forgot the first part this time. So you went straight to the chase. And what's the carried out quantitative and qualitative venture analysis, which led to successful merge between two Japanese tech companies. Venture analysis related to successful. Okay, so I would probably split this one out into two ones. Maybe go into more of like what type of like specifics in the venture analysis, if that's possible. And then as a result, led to a successful merge between two Japanese tech companies. That's my high level professional.
Yeah, I dropped a link for XYZ formula that's by Google. Basically, they tell you to put an action verb like accomplish X as measured by Y by doing Z. I keep that in mind when I write my bullet points. And I think that's a good way to basically fill this up a bit more. And I'm not gonna lie, honestly, I didn't notice that this person was a freshman, and now like actually looking at the stuff they've done, they actually have pretty good stuff on their resume. You just need a bit of help, I think, just with describing the bullet points and putting in more metrics. And I see some of your bullet points are, pretty much perfect. But, like, for example, I'm looking at the MIT startup competition. You just have first place winner, which is a pretty big feat. And then you just said won first prize, best startup. And obviously, I think those bullet points could be described a bit more about it, like, the type of stuff you did, and I guess like how it impacted, if you were trying to impact, and, some people, like, I don't know what the project was for, but that's kind of what I need. I just need to see what the project was exactly for. If you have links to the project, if you can showcase that, maybe there's a GitHub link or anything. It could just be code. It could just be raw code. Just put the GitHub link in there. And I think that always looks good.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Were you going to say something else, Kush? Or?
Oh, that's it. That's all I had.
Okay. So kind of going off of that, I would recommend having a project section, especially since you're, CS. And some things already you can put on there are this MIT startup competition thing where you created a medical device, and also potentially your, Tokyo business plan competition thing, because like we've kind of been saying throughout the night, if you don't have too much professional experience, then projects are the way to go. A lot of, like, I know at least for Google, and like I guess same with like Microsoft, and like a lot of these companies that hire like freshmen and sophomores through their, like, I guess like underclassmen programs, they don't like discriminate against like not having experience at all, because obviously like freshmen, you don't have too much experience or relevant experience. So they honestly only like, or like they care a lot about projects. So like, yeah, if that's where you want to, or I guess if that's the path you want to go on, then consider like adding projects to your resume. And if you don't have any ideas, we're actually doing like a idea generation session in a few weeks, so come to that. But yeah, also like just looking up project ideas on Google, or asking friends, seeing what they've done. Just be proactive, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Also try to, follow the general practice with the resume. When you have resume, make sure to put the location where where you worked. I think that's always a good idea as well. I've seen some resumes in the past where people put in remote, and I don't know how everyone else on the panel thinks here too, but I was told that even if you work remote, just still put in the location of the office. I think you can kind of go either or. I don't think there's any strong preference with that, but having a location of where you worked on resume is also helpful. I think, especially looking at your resume, I would try to have at least, I would say, try to have at least 3 bullet points. I think that would be pretty nice to fill everything up. And then obviously, if you have any technical skill sets, even if you're learning it right now, like relevant coursework and stuff like that, definitely make sure to include that as well.
Yeah, I think we should go to the next one.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking at these freshman resumes, like I'm really impressed.
Yeah.
Man, some of these freshmen have so much experience. And while I was like in my Com 110 class, I had like nothing at all. Damn.
I guess
this one's impressive.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'm pretty a fan of it because I'm biased towards the 2-column resumes. I like a 2-column resume. But again, high level one, I like the blue text over it, like the subtitles and all that. Very easy to parse. I know where I'm looking for everything. So good job for the layout piece of the resume.
Honestly, I'm kind of jealous just looking at this resume. I'm trying to take tips for me, to be honest. That's how this resume really is. This is dope. I guess in the skills section, I'm looking, you call the title Technologies and Frameworks. I usually just like to say frameworks. I don't usually use like the big title. I mean, this is like a very, very minor thing that I just prefer. I mean, that's all I can see right now. Damn, this experience is impressive.
Yeah,
I have nothing.
Nice.
I would say, just like the font sizes aren't consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And then also like there's not consistent periods too. So like having a period or not is really up to debate. Some people are like anti-period. Some people are all for periods. But I feel like you have to pick a side. It's very nitpicky, but it's good just to pick a side, whether you're going to use periods or not, and then just stick with it through the whole resume. And for font size too, like just be consistent with it. Because again, for readability, that one right there, NASDAQ, is very small text. And it's harder to read than the other parts. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this person made the font small because they were probably trying to squeeze some stuff in. I would just say, not all of these spacing have to be the same. You can decrease the spacing by 0.1 or 2, and I've done that on my resumes. You can do that like at the top where you see experience, maybe decrease the spacing a bit over there. That could help. But you want to keep the resume as consistent as possible when it comes to the size of the fonts. I think the size of the other fonts on the resume is fine. I just think like the NASDAQ font is kind of small. I mean, I would either cut down on one of the bullets, but I think you have really good experience, really good bullet points there that I would try to stay away from that and try to see if you could reduce the spacing here and there to just squeeze everything in while making sure you can have the same size of the bullet points.
Yeah, +1 on the spacing. Don't go spacing crazy. Like some people have literally no cushion between their things. But I like change the font in between to like maybe like 5-point font versus like, I don't know what is usually like 12 or 11 to easier space it out. Overall though, I think you do a really good job of highlighting not only what you did, why it was important, but as a result of what you did, what happened. So I'm still reading through it, but I really have no major things when it comes to the content itself of the resume. I think you did a really good job.
Yeah, one thing about education, you just only need to include spring 2022. No need to include 2018 to 2022. I've just heard it from other employers like that's usually not needed. But it's up to you. This is, I think most of my my critiques, except for the bullet, is just kind of optional. But everything else is fine.
What do you guys think about including the years for leadership? Because I think that's the thing that's been kind of like making their resume a bit longer, or like at least that like very bottom line, the 2018. If they got rid of that, they would be able to fit more, I feel like, with the other text.
I mean, they can just say VP instead of, well, actually, I do like saying vice president. I usually just tend to use abbreviations, but
Mhm.
I think it's up to the person. I think I don't think I did. I think I just put in just like straight up, just like these are my leadership skills. I don't think I actually had any dates. So I think it's kind of up to the person.
What was your comment about the bullet points? Because I also have those kind of bullet points on mine.
Oh,
Sorry, whose comment?
Whose comment are you referring to, me or Eddie or George?
I thought someone said they had a comment about the bullet points or the bullets.
Yeah, I just mentioned that we were looking at the leadership skills, and I mentioned that the dates are not necessary in leadership skills, and I also mentioned that you could abbreviate some of the words. Like he has vice president, and I could consider myself using VP instead of vice president. Yeah, it's kind of a tough situation to be in. I've had these issues where I would try to, because like I would have all the bullet points that have everything on one line, and then I have that one bullet point where that one number is on the other line and looks kind of untidy. And then I would just like try to play around with things. Like I think on my resume, especially in the skills section, I had the same problem, and I got rid of spacing between the commas. So it's like, it's not noticeable, but it's like a very small thing. Also, you could go in, like if you made your resume like Word or PDF or whatever, you can make the spacing size, like the size of the spacing, you can make it very, very small. So you still have a spacing in there, but it's just a very, very small spacing. So you can mess around with the sizing of the spacings.
I think you just kind of like reminded me of, and this is a very like optional thing. It's just something I wanted to bring up. So this is also like resume philosophy, and everybody has something that works for them. I have no side on this, but I know certain people, when it comes to bullets, they don't like the bullet having text directly underneath it in the line like this. So some people prefer like the text being in line like this and the bullet points being aligned the other part. I'm not sure if I'm illustrating correctly. Do you guys understand what I'm trying to say?
No, so, I totally get what you mean. I feel like this person shouldn't have any issues with that, because I see this person has a lot of spacing even after the text ends. So I'm pretty sure they could just indent their text to align with the bullet spacing.
Yeah, and again, it's totally up to you. It's resume. Like I just want to like bring up different people, because everybody has something that works for them. I just want to bring up like some people prefer it a line like this. Some people put it to the side, but it's up to you how you want to do it.
I just put a link in the chat. Basically, it's a site called Job Hero, where you can look up like specific resumes. Like if you're looking for software engineer resumes, you can look at specific resumes for professionals in the industry and look at how they've like done their bullet points. The site helped me a lot tremendously with making my bullet points. So I think this could be a major help for a lot of you guys.
Yeah, that's dope. I didn't even know this existed. So I'm about to go ahead and bookmark this joint.
Yeah.
Just one last thing. So, I mean, obviously this is a really awesome resume. I would consider maybe bolding or like italicizing some of the technologies that you're using in each of these like experience points. Again, this is completely optional, but at least I heard from someone, he's like a ex-Case, I guess, alum who's working at Google right now. He said that it's good to like kind of just bold your technologies. So like it's really emphasized, I guess.
Yeah, so I know two things I usually prefer with technology. So especially in the project section, either you can put it right underneath like the title and just italicize what technologies you have, or you can make it bold. So either or works.
But yeah, I think again, this is really awesome resume. A lot of the stuff we were saying is like really nitpicky, but hopefully you got something out of this. I think we're good to go on to the next one. I don't want this to go over too long. Was there no?
I think that's all of them.
All right. Did we go over hunters?
I think we skipped Mazam.
What'd you say, George?
I said I think we skipped over Mazam.
I think that was, yeah, we did that one.
No. Oh, there's two of them. Oh, I saw two. Okay, never mind.
I don't think we did hunters. The third one. Yeah, there we go. I think this is the last one. Yeah. So.
All right, so my high level for this one is it's not the size isn't that bad, but it is a little small. So there's like I would increase it a little bit for readability and accessibility for your resume. Also for your subtitles, it's like the same size as some of the like smaller subtitles. So I would make those ones bigger so I know it's a section header than just a header of your thing. So leadership, I wanted to be bigger, education objective. And I know there's that line next to it that shows the divider, which is helpful, but I think bigger text for that might just be better overall for, somebody just looking through it, trying to find what they need to find off your resume.
Also,
Yeah,
I think, go ahead.
Sorry, no, go ahead. You're first. Sorry.
The use of boldness is there's just a lot of things that are bold. So I recommend maybe not bolding the dates and location, or like italicizing help desk technician or engineering intern, because there's really no specific thing you're drawn to because of the bold. It's all, a lot of it is bold, so it doesn't make it as special, I would say.
I think this kind of just goes back to what I was saying before is, well, you want white space, but not too much white space. And I think by adding these borders, and I had the same problem before, it just kind of gets rid of, it just makes it too clunky. And that's something that I think doesn't look that clean. So keeping that in mind, like George said, you can obviously increase the font of like experience and leadership and like the headings, so that we know these are two different sections. You can obviously, if your resume runs out of space, you can decrease the sizes between your between experience and maybe a little bit between your bullet points. Maybe think about using a different font as well. I think this is probably Times New Roman, and usually that the text looks very, very sharp, especially at the edges. So it just kind of I feel like sometimes for me just kind of hurts to read, if that makes sense. It's like I just have to squint my eyes to figure out what each of the words says. Again, with objectives, like I mentioned before, it's not needed. I mean, think about if you if you can squeeze that and blend it in other sections, that would be a good idea. And then obviously looking at the top, try to have the name in the center with your email and your phone number in the center. I'm not really big on the address. I think it used to be in the past. I remember some employees used to say address is fine, but I don't think the address is needed, because you already are giving away like which school you go to, and I think that aligns with like what address you have. And obviously, if you have a LinkedIn or GitHub or personal website, definitely include that there. And if you don't, if you don't, at least try to have a LinkedIn. I think having a LinkedIn right now is kind of, it's like the basic thing to have when it comes to networking. So definitely have that, and definitely make an account if you haven't.
Yeah, this guy's one of my friends, so I'm gonna be a bit more brutal with my critiques. Like Kush said, it's really important to have your LinkedIn or GitHub. Again, your address, you might not need it, because in a lot of cases, actually, employers will not want to look further if a certain candidate is super far away from the company. They don't want to like provide housing, stuff like that. With your objective, it kind of seems like it seems a bit too general. I feel like seeking a summer 2021 internship in a computer science related field. It kind of just sounds like you're out for like literally any like I guess CS job out there. So it might not be like necessary. And if you get rid of that, you'll have room to like make your education, your experience sections a bit larger. Another thing, I think this resume looks a lot like it's pretty similar to like the format is really similar to mine. But I think I think you like added a bit of spacing between each of the bullet points. I could be incorrect, I could be wrong, but try to like keep like the spacing to like a bit smaller, if that makes sense. So like I know you can like highlight it and decrease the like spacing like from like 2.0 to like 1.5 or like from 1.5 to like 1. And again, just like with quantifying your experience and your leadership or your project, sorry, try to like use numbers, stuff like that, I guess.
Yeah, I just want to plus one the objective part. If you're gonna add your objective, make it because if you're applying for a summer 2021 internship, they're gonna assume you want a 2021 internship. So that's gonna be kind of redundant in my opinion. I think you should shuffle your experience a little bit, even though it does seem like your help desk technician was the most recent. If you're applying for computer science, maybe you might want to move up like one of your engineering experiences higher, even though it's not as recent, just because it's more relevant, and relevant is always over recency. To a certain extent, of course. If it's like 2015, then put it all the way at the bottom. But yeah, that's what I just have to add on. I'm still reading through the content though.
Another thing is I don't think I see a project section. Again, like I want to iterate the importance of like projects. So like, it shows that you're being active outside of, classwork. And I know like Hunter, you have a lot of projects done already. So um, like just, include like a GitHub link to those projects. And like, you can definitely add another section. Obviously you might need to take out some things, but like take out some of your experience from like before college or like some of your leadership from before college. Even though like it might seem relevant, a lot of times if it's like from I guess too far in the past, um, you know there might be things better to include, I guess. So just I guess consider that.
I was actually gonna talk about um, just having consistency with like the formats of dates. Like I see how you have expected 2023 in education, but then you use like not use like actual like alphabetical words like for saying the dates instead of you just said 09/2019. That's usually I don't know. For me, I feel like when I'm reading a resume with a lot of text, I usually like to have like June, like JUNE space 2019. Like I usually like to have the words instead of like the numbers. Maybe I'm just bad at math. I don't know. I don't like to think about looking at 3 and then I'm like, oh, that's March. I just want to see if it's March or not. But it's I guess maybe some people might have another preferences, but I've seen most people just having it the other way than what you have. Oh, also, I just noticed your skills section is like all the way at the bottom. Do you need to put that like right underneath education? Like for sure. That's like what employers are looking for. They're looking for, hey, what are you skilled in? And if they can see that as like one of the first things, and then jump down to look at your experience, I mean that's ideal.
Things you did good. I like how you have like your numbers up there. So that it resolved about 2 to 3 hardware software issues a day. Successfully interacted with a range of 10 to 20 customers. So that's good. Um, Assemble and test over 20 hardware electrical systems for automation purposes. So I think you did a good job of like quantifying things. There's still some, I think there could be work. I don't have any like rewordings. I'd be looking at it differently. Not differently. I just be looking at things over and over to see if I can reword it anywhere. If I feel like you can try to like reword things that highlight more of your impact, but you're doing a good job of it already. If that makes sense. So I would just like look through all your experiences and just try to see, okay, is there anywhere I can really like say the importance of it, and try that somebody you're not familiar with at all, who doesn't know and who can't fill in the blanks for you, to review it, and they're going to be a great help in doing that part.
This is like a tip for everyone. I'm kind of guilty of this. I don't know if anyone else does this, but I usually sometimes like to stalk people on LinkedIn and then just look at their bullet points and try to figure out if I can fix my bullet points based on what they have. I think if you're looking, I mean, this person has really good bullet points, but I know people that are looking to add really good bullet points to your resume. Just look up, if you're looking into like a software engineer bullet point, just look up software engineer on LinkedIn and look into like the top profiles and look at what bullet points they have to help figure out what you can put on your resume. This is kind of a side tip, nothing with this resume. But yeah, I think this is all we have. I guess we can move on to the next one.
I think that was the last one we had for
Okay.
for this session. Yeah, of course, Hunter. Also, yeah, feel free to like send me your resume if you want any like further, advice. But yeah, I guess that concludes the end of this resume roast session. Thanks to everyone who like stuck with us. Hopefully you all got some takeaways, I guess. But yeah, I guess we can open it up to like 5 minutes of questions if anyone has some like really general questions, or I guess anything specific too.
Hello. Hi.
Hey.
I just wanted to say thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. I'm working on applications for Google Step and Microsoft Explorer, so this really helps a lot. I'm a freshman, by the way. So thank you. I have a couple of questions though, so let me get to it. Okay, so I am trying to beef up my project section. I don't have a whole lot of projects I would consider notable, so I wanted some advice on what to add and what to leave out. I have a couple of like, I would say exploratory project, really what I would call functional, but should I add those in addition to the like bigger projects that apply those concepts?
Well, it depends how you market it. So if you're able to, like I said, like if you're able to make that look delicious, like you're marketing that cheeseburger at the commercial, like a lot of people like, oh, like this is just a small project, like I don't want to add in my resume. But if you're able to like fully communicate like your impact, what it can be used for, all the technologies you use, make it look savory, add all the key words, I say why not?
Okay.
Yeah.
Nabil, I have a personal story for you, and thanks for coming in. I added like a 3-hour long project on my resume because I felt really passionate about it. And I just had my interview at Chapter 1 a week ago, and they asked about it. And they loved the fact that like I showed so much passion, just bringing it up. And I told them, yeah, this took me like 3 hours to do. I just kind of decided to do it all of a sudden. It was like a very quickly made website on a SQL for, it was like a database for like international students when, the US, basically people, the DACA people were basically getting kicked out of US, and I just made like a really quick database for them to search classes. And that pretty much was a really big factor in landing the job. I actually just got an offer recently from them. So
nice.
keep that in mind. Thank you. Yeah, keep that in mind, dude. No experience is like small experience. It's like George said, it's really how you market them.
Okay.
And talk about the experience like that, inside and out, because employers do love to nitpick on certain experiences, and they're going to ask you, hey, tell us about this project, and you need to be like ready and be passionate about it. So
Okay.
like, don't think of like, I remember like I've had like, I remember like this like one certain project that comes in mind that looks really good on my resume, but I didn't do a lot into it. It involved like machine learning, and I'm not really good at machine learning, and it involved using like Twitter API. So I usually like that's like one of my projects. Like I usually don't try to bring up on my interviews. I did apply to Twitter, so I definitely marketed the crap out of that right now. But keep in mind, just like George said, every project is it's all about the marketing, and if you can talk about it passionately, definitely put it in there.
Okay. So, kind of a follow-up to that, things where I can kind of capitalize what maybe I learned on the project, because a lot of these that I did, it was mostly over the summer when I was locked inside. I wouldn't say like they were not complex at all. Like one of them was literally rock, paper, scissors in Python. So like, but would it be beneficial if I tried to market those by capitalizing on what I learned through those projects?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the whole point of it. Similar to that, I actually made like a 2048 game, and it was actually pretty simple. Like just joining the tiles together. Like it doesn't even join. Like there's no animation. It just like I just press like the right button, it just pops into a 4 and pops into an 8. So it's like the like literally like the UI of it is just horrendous. But I focus on putting in like, hey, I use Node.js here and I use HTML, CSS, and yeah, just putting the tech stack there and like filling that up is actually very important.
Okay, sweet. And so now that kind of leads me to my next one. I don't know if anybody else has any other questions though. I don't want to steal up the time. Okay.
Dude, go for it. Don't worry.
All right. So let's see. So I'm getting like kind of used to the lingo when people talk about the stacks and technologies they use in their projects, and I'm trying to figure out how I should like what people want to know about my project, about what I use in my projects. So is there any insight into that, or do you maybe need some more details?
I'll take this one. I would say really just include everything that you really use, like all the technologies you use, like even like, Java. It might seem like it's something that like, everyone has on the resume, but you'd be surprised how many people like don't know Java. So I feel like as long as like you, first of all, use it for a project and also like know how to like, I guess, again, explain, how you used it, know the ins and outs really of how you used it, definitely include it, honestly, like some people like include technologies that they like touched once, and when they get asked about them during an interview, they freeze up. So yeah, I would say like, again, no technologies like too small to include on your resume.
Okay, sweet. Does this include like modules that you use in Python? Because like I came across a lot of random modules, and I was like, do people really use this?
It's like the typical pandas module. Everyone has to include that, like essence. Everyone sees that.
Yeah. I
No,
use
yeah.
like Selenium for one of them. I was
Yeah,
like, I've
Selenium.
heard of this before.
Yeah, I use Selenium on one of my projects, and I included Selenium.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely. Again, like include anything you can, really.
Okay, cool.
So this is kind of also like a general tip for everyone as well. When I think about what to include in my bullet points, I think about looking at the job description that I'm applying to. So you'll see like a common pattern of every job description is going to have like, they want some sort of metrics and tech stack. And then they also want collaboration. So including any sort of agile work, scrum work that you have done, always looks good on your resume. Especially, I mean, if you're going for a PM, like a project management or product management role, I think just having that on your resume, it doesn't always have to be very technical. It doesn't have to be, I did this or I did that. It could be about work with a team of 6 to build this, and this. I think including those collaboration, team efforts is, I think, very, very important. Especially like I've seen a lot of people would include, 1 third place in hackathon, but they wouldn't say how many people they worked with and like, what other skills like other people worked in the team. Like some people would just say, I worked on this specifically, but then someone else in the team also worked on something really, really cool. And like you guys kind of basically collaborate together. So you don't want to like limit yourself on like the specific thing you worked on. You can just say collaborated on this project using this, and this, and you can just include all of that. You don't have to be like fully proficient at it. Like Eddie said, it could be something that you taught, obviously, make sure when the employer asks you, like, what it is. But don't shy away from including those collaborative tools that you have usually in your experience.
And then, so I don't have any like activities. I just got here. So would you just recommend keeping like they said, one or two activities from high school or like awards or something like that to kind of highlight soft skills?
Okay. So
Oh,
what I would
sweet.
do is try to, I mean, you're a freshman, right?
Yes.
So look at all the programming clubs at your school, like DSC, for example,
Mhm.
and put that on your resume instead. Even if you're not a full member, like I remember my freshman year, I said I was a member of the programming team. I went to like 2 meetings, to be quite honest, but I still put on my resume because it's good to have. So definitely like showing that you're showing interest in like computer science early is something you can do to add activities on your resume. And also ask people in the club what they put in their bullet points. Like it helps, like when I ask other people, like I have good bullet points sometimes. When I hear other people's bullet points, if we're doing the same thing, it gives like, it helps me reword my things to like better suit it. I don't necessarily like, steal what they say, but I take a little slice of it and put it on top of mine.
Yeah, this kind of goes back to my LinkedIn point too. That's exactly what I do with mine. Um, like in my current internship at IBM, I just pretty much stalked everyone that's like doing my work at IBM and just, I'm not even gonna lie, I literally straight up copy pasted it. It looks really good, so trust me.
That's hilarious. I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
feel that. Yeah. I just like started a LinkedIn or whatever because I heard it was important. How much should I populate it? Should I just throw up my resume and maybe a bio or
Everything.
Everything.
Everything full overflow. LinkedIn is like the plug. You don't get plugged in. Is good for like networking people. It's very easy to like find what's going on, opportunities once you get to a certain point. So treat up LinkedIn like a very detailed resume. Resumes stereotypically are 1 page long. LinkedIn, you can rap. You can rap as long as you want to. This is your show. This is your stage. This is you decorating your stage, and you're communicating to others what your personal brand is. This is your concert. All right. So don't be shy about it.
all right, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
and oh, sorry, just to cut you off real quickly. You can also drop your LinkedIn. I'm sure, like in like group chats. I guess that's what I used to do.
okay.
So I was like a part of an intern club, and like I would drop my LinkedIn there, and like a lot of people would like request to
Dude, that's
connect with me.
exactly what I did.
Yeah, exactly. And like you're also in the tech community group me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if yeah, something like that.
Bro, literally just like drop your LinkedIn,
Yeah.
like any sort of professional place possible. I mean, George just dropped his. I mean, connect with. I think with me now, I think it's at this point like I've gotten over the 500 plus connections mark, and like after that, you just start getting more and more connections automatically. It's kind of what happens.
Okay.
So I know like getting to the 500 connection mark is like the hardest part, but always I also like to, this is kind of like just like a tip of LinkedIn. I like to follow people. Like some people, they might have like a lot of connections that they don't accept it. Just like follow them. I would like follow like specific recruiters. Uh, I mean, I'm like connected with George now, but I used to follow like a lot of people. Like I Googled too, just to see what kind of content they're putting up out there.
Okay.
That gives you like all the latest and latest inside scoop that's like coming out, and like I've got notifications like jobs like opening up, and like I would see them like first thing, and I would be like the first one to apply.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just adding one more thing, connect with your classmates and endorse your classmates.
Okay.
Literally, like we see my LinkedIn, a lot of people are like, how do you get so many endorsements? It's because I endorse people that I know. A lot of people are like shy with their endorsements. If I work with my classmate in this project, I'm going to endorse them on LinkedIn. And a lot of people are not even connected with people in their own class, but they're connected with people who are halfway around the country. You got to start locally first.
Okay.
So definitely make an extra effort to connect with people around you, endorse people around you, support people around you.
Okay.
I think I saw an intern club. There was like a Endorse group that something like that. I think it was going around. So I actually got a couple endorsements just from that. honestly, I would say like don't. You should probably not do it. You probably want to have someone that actually knows and can like vouch for your experience. But I mean, it was like free endorsements, so I couldn't stay away. So I was like, whatever. If you want to give me endorsement, sure, I'll give you one back.
I got you. All right, yeah. So I just got to get more integrated into the LinkedIn system.
Yeah, man. I mean, you're a freshman. Like, don't sweat it. Trust me. I trust me. I did not have these questions when I was freshman. I was like trying to figure out how to get an A in the class, and I was barely able to do that. That's where I was at
Yeah,
that
that's
time.
me
So
with
it's good that
Canada.
you're way ahead of the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It makes me feel a lot better. Although seeing some of these resumes, I was like, oh no, they have this and I don't, you know.
I talked to a recruiter at Google, and he said for the freshman resumes, they know they're well aware like there's gonna be a big rift in them, right? There's gonna be the people who have been exposed to coding in their high school, and they've been wanting to work at Google since they were like 5 years old, right? And their resume is already out there. Then you have your regular, people who just started coding, and I was one of them, and they're really doing the extra work to make sure they're not discriminating between the two because again it's about marketing, not who's the most qualified candidate. So don't feel discouraged by the other resumes. Just make sure you put your best foot forward in marketing yourself, and I'm pretty sure the rest will follow.
Okay. That's really helpful advice. Thank you.
Of course.
Let me see. I think okay, this is my last question, I promise. Should I include my proficiency level in my different like technological skills?
If you have space, I always think of it like this. If you have space, like if it doesn't look too odd, like if you just put in fluent intermediate for like technological, it looks like there's like one word below the first line. Don't include it. You don't have to. I think it just comes down to preference. I don't have it now because I'm fortunate enough to have good amount of different good amount of tech stack in my resume that I don't need it, but I did used to have it in the past.
Okay.
Copy that. And then I don't have it. I used to. I don't have anymore. But what I still do is I order them in my level of proficiency. So if I'm the most familiar with this technology, it will come first. Then the rest will follow in the order of my competence, I guess, in them.
Okay. All right. Sweet. Sounds good. Thank you so much again. This is really helpful, and hopefully I will see you guys at future. This is DSC, right?
Yeah, so this is the Case Western DSC.
Okay.
I don't. You had to did you RSVP for this event or?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I was in the tech community, and
yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, you'll be on our like chapters like mailing list. So like any future events we're having, you'll be on that list. Speaking of which, we're doing a fireside chat with the chairman of Alphabet, which is a really like the parent company of Google.
Okay.
So yeah, that's fun. And then I'm doing a live technical interview with a Google engineer in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So yeah, just like stay subscribed to our chapter.
No, I'll definitely join.
Yeah.
That sounds cool. And like the sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna pop my LinkedIn in the chat, but what were you saying?
Oh, I was gonna say the brainstorming session thing you were talking about. That sounds really awesome because I've been so busy with school and stuff. Need some projects to work on.
Yeah, of course. Honestly, like we're sending out all the information like through the mailing list, so just stay on that, and yeah, you're free to come by, obviously.
Let me get these linked in real quick, and then I'll be out of you guys' hair.
Nabil, you should since you're a freshman, think about making a personal website. I think that's the best way to stand out. I literally use I think starting up I just use WordPress or Squarespace, anything you want. Just have something because like I've never actually had an employer ask me how I made my website. Like now I actually have my own like website, maybe HTML, CSS, but I mean, in the past, I've never had anyone like ask me how I did it. Just have something like that. I mean, it could literally be, I've seen people like literally put in like their name and like just put in their LinkedIn and like like a LinkedIn and GitHub. Obviously, like don't do that if you don't have to, but like just having a website, I think just on like a resume just makes you look very professional.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually I was thinking about buying my domain name and then just linking it to my website. Fortunately, it's like not taken yet, so I was thinking about that. Thank you, though. That's good advice. My mentor was telling me the same thing too. I was thinking about learning some web development, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript.
Yeah, Edward just asked for, do you pay for hosting? I use Google Cloud, and Google Cloud is free for a year. And I mean, to be honest, like I'm a senior now, and you know, I'm only just gonna have my domain free for a year. And even if I do pay for it, it's like
It's
I think like my
$12 a
virtual,
year.
yeah, like it's pretty cheap. It's really cheap. So, and I put in a link there called namecheap.com. That's what I use for buying all my domains. I know I have a .live link, and you guys can check out my website. I'm
His
just gonna
website's really cool, by the way.
I actually, it got hacked actually recently, so
Really?
I actually had to restore from a backup. So it looks kind of messy right now, but yeah, not gonna lie, it is pretty clean. I'm working really
Yeah.
hard on
I
it.
have to check. Whoa.
It was so good that it got hacked. Like,
Yeah,
that's when you know.
page thing. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Oh my god. Oh, that's a nice picture.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it.
Of course. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing.
This is really cool, man. I had to unmute myself to just say like this is really cool.
Hey, thanks, Edward. Bro, I mean, yeah, I mean, I've been doing web development for a while. This is kind of like my forte. I actually really enjoy doing it. So I mean, oh, also, I just saw on the resume, dude, ask for recommendations wherever you can, and ask them to put it on your LinkedIn, because that will stay forever. And I think that's always a good idea. Like always ask for recommendation. They always look good on your LinkedIn as well.
Okay, I didn't know you could do that on LinkedIn. Like,
yeah, you can. So if you have like a manager or someone that you want recommendation to, just like message them. Hey, say, would you like to give me a recommendation? Then I think on LinkedIn there's a section you can request recommendation from someone.
That's good.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm still like gushing over this website. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
snappy and everything.
It's so clean.
Oh.
I'm not even gonna lie. There was like I think there were a couple of interviews. I just like slid it in a chat. I was like, yeah. Meanwhile, I'm gonna tell you about myself. Here's my website here. And then like they would look at my website and they were like, whoa, okay, that's pretty cool.
I might honestly like revamp mine too, because mine right now is like pretty like static, I guess. I don't know.
I gotta make a website too. I gotta get on this.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So clean.
Thank you, bro.
So
all right, so now I'm gonna actually put in another link here.
Yeah.
Open that one.
Okay.
And y'all gonna be shocked.
No way. Is it a better one?
It's a template, y'all.
It's a template?
Yo.
Dude.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, man. It's like if you know how to finesse, you know how to finesse. It's literally a template on WordPress. I did code some of the things in there.
Yeah.
But most of it, like including the overall design, is exactly the same.
Yeah.
Wait, how can we get the source code to this?
So I think this is on WordPress. I actually downloaded it. Literally just like pirated it from somewhere. I can find the link for you if you want it.
Yeah, no, I'd be very interested. Because like right now, my website is so like plain. I feel like compared to what you have. Oh gosh.
I actually don't tell this to people, but I was like, I'm just gonna say it.
Like Rick's website.
Yeah, I was low-key gonna like shamelessly ask you, like, did you like use the template or like?
I did. I use WordPress, and so you can import templates in WordPress, and this is an Elementor theme, I think. So you can import